All right, obviously this weekend we had the Saudi card, which was on over in LA. It was a good show. I enjoyed it. Obviously, there was a lot of talking points off the back of it, but the main talking point comes from the Jared Anderson Martin Bakole fight. Martin Bakole, in my opinion, and I think pretty much in the opinion of several others, that was the performance of the night. Stopping Jared Anderson, taking his O in 5 rounds in a fight that Jared Anderson started well, and Bakole just, it just seemed like no matter what Anderson did, Bakole was just, nope, I'm going to come forward. Your shots are not going to affect me. The body shots, I don't even care about them. I'm just going to keep putting the pressure on you, use my jab, hit you hard, and that's it. And that was what happened. When you look at Martin Bakole, and yes, Billy Nelson, his trainer, will tell you all these superlatives about him. And again, it mainly comes from sparring rumours and sparring stories. You can see that there is potential there. I remember when Martin Bakole kind of came onto the scene first. I think he fought the guy's name DL Jones or something like, yeah, DL Jones. Might have even been before that. I think actually it was. I think it was kind of the end of 2017 is when people started hearing a little bit about Martin Bakole. At the time, he was kind of on the same path as Daniel Dubois. He was a young prospect who turned over. He's obviously older than Daniel Dubois by about 6 years, but still he would have been in his mid-20s at the time. And we were hearing about Martin Bakole, you know, this, that and the other, and he obviously had that loss to Michael Hunter, which I know he was injured. He definitely got injured in that fight. There's no question about it. I think it was his shoulder. He wanted to quit because of the injuries. And I really, when it's an injury like that, if a fighter wants to quit, I wouldn't necessarily look at that as a red flag in terms of heart. At the end of the day, if you're injured, you're injured. There's not anything you can really do about that. You didn't choose to be injured. It's not like there was no injury. You were perfect and just chose to quit because, oh, the fight's too hard. If you're injured, you're injured. I can completely understand that. I wouldn't turn around and question the fighter's heart over that. No way. He lost to Michael Hunter, and going into that fight, I believe he was the favourite at the time. And it kind of left people questioning Martin Bakole. He built his way back up. He had the win over Sergey Kuzmin 2 years later, which a lot of people felt that fight was close. It could have went either way, and it kind of had Bakole. It kind of had him in that who needs you club, because although the performances in the ring didn't look amazing, you know, the Kuzmin performance didn't have people stopping and thinking, oh wow, Martin Bakole, he's the boogeyman or anything like that. He was never a fighter whose name was at the top of many's lips. I'll put it to you like that. It was never really a name that was really spoken about. Then he went in against Tony Yoka, and I believe at the time when he fought Tony Yoka, he'd had one fight in the interim, which was in Dubai. I don't even remember what card that was on. What card was that on? I think that was just a separate card. He'd had a fight, a first round knockout win in Dubai, and then went into the Tony Yoka fight in May of 2022. So from December 2020 to May 2022, he was quite inactive, was Martin Bakole. There wasn't much really to be seen of him, and I don't remember the odds in that Tony Yoka fight because Tony Yoka was coming into it undefeated, but I'm sure it would have been close odds, or maybe they would have had Yoka favourite. And that's really when kind of we saw the Martin Bakole kind of the Martin Bakole we hear so much about in sparring start to come out. The Billy Nelson kind of, you know, Martin Bakole is this, he's that, and the other. It will say on the record that was a majority. It was majority. I knew, yeah, they had it majority. It was a majority or was it split? It should never have been a majority decision. I go back to what I say when people say, oh, but you know, this fight on the record, it was a majority decision, so it was close. It wasn't close. It was not close in the slightest. I mean, that was a clear as anything. I mean, early on in that fight, it looked like Yoka would get stopped. He had no answer to Bakole. Bakole then has another kind of nothing fight, fights Carlos Takam, and no one's ever done that to Carlos Takam, and now he's done this to Big Baby Anderson. That style, although he does make mistakes there, and it's an interesting one because you got to ask a few questions about Jared Anderson and his preparation, because I think that Anderson is, I think that, I don't want to say backlash, but the reaction is a little bit too harsh on Anderson. You people saying he's got a weak chin, there's people saying, you know, still questioning his heart. I don't think you can question his heart. He came to fight, he came to win, he got back up, he was upset at the stoppage. He would have kept going had the referee not stopped the fight, which would have been a bad thing because he would have got absolutely splattered. So I don't really question his heart. But I was watching Hatman's film study video, And he pointed something out in that film study, and it's not even anything to do with what both guys did in the ring in terms of mistakes, but it's something that you would think would come up in the preparation and that Anderson will be more aware of. And what that is that Sugar Hill Stewart is the trainer of Jared Anderson. Okay? Sugar Hill Stewart is also the trainer of Tyson Fury. Sugar Hill Stewart would know Martin Bakole very well because Martin Bacole's been in training with Tyson Fury an awful lot. So you would think that I'm not going to have a go with Sugar Hill necessarily. Maybe he did, and maybe Anderson didn't really just kind of was, yeah, whatever, that youthful brazenness, maybe, I'm just assuming. But you would think they would know a little bit more about what they're going to get with Martin Bakole if he's constantly in the Fury camp sparring. And Billy Nelson and Sugar Hill are apparently, I don't want to say they're close, but I know they do speak, so you would think they would have had a better game plan if they've known Martin Bakole as well as they do. Certainly Sugar Hill would. It does kind of make you stop and think, that's actually a good point. That's a really, really good point. In that fight, we seen the good of Martin Bakole. Yeah, there was a few little mistakes there. The defense. I mean, the fact that he was just able to be hit to the body, and it was just like, keep hitting me to the body. It's not going to affect me. You do think that if a fighter has maybe more of his man strength, more pop, more punching power, makes an effort to really target the body and just keep, a bit like Michael Hunter, the hitting the move, you can see that fight going bad for Martin Bakole. But if you're looking at some of the fights that they're talking about, Zhilei Zhang, Anthony Joshua, Jarrell Miller, you would give him a very good chance in all those fights. I look at Anthony Joshua versus Martin Bakole, if in fact they ever did that fight. Obviously Anthony Joshua has his hands full with Daniel Dubois. He's got to get by him first. But you look at that fight and you think, Anthony Joshua could certainly hurt Martin Bakole. I mean, Martin Bakole takes a good shot, but I'd say Anthony Joshua would hit hard enough to at the very least get his respect. But you just stop and think, Anthony Joshua is a very physically strong man, but he'd be running into a brick wall against Bakole. Bakole be pushing him back to the ropes. Bakole be letting his shots go. Bakole has very good punching power, So you do stop and think, that style, how would that fare against Anthony Joshua? You look at Zhilei Zhang and you think, right, that's the biggest puncher arguably in the heavyweight division. If he hits Martin Bakole, how will Bakole react? But likewise, Zhilei Zhang has not got particularly good stamina. How will he react late on in a fight if it's going 6-7 rounds and you have this guy who's just as big as you, maybe even a bit bigger, and he's throwing loads of heavy shots at you? How are you going to take that? It really does show. That's a really good fight, I should say. That's a really interesting. It shows how styles really do make fights, and that'd be a great style matchup. I'd love to see it. I think that Bakole, he's had fights in the past where he has maybe under-delivered, where you've expected him to deliver, like against Kuzma, although he got the win officially against Hunter as well. He's been calling for that Hunter rematch. I don't think he needs to take it personally. I think he's past that now. I think that Michael Hunter 5 or 6 years ago, pre-Povetkin, really had something going for him. He had potential. He could have done something in the heavyweight division. He could be up there now. We could be talking about Michael Hunter as one of the, the main guys. But he's made ridiculous moves. Now he's stagnant, and it's his own fault. It's as simple as. There's no one else to blame but himself. And I think that now, that fight, although I picked Bakole to win, I don't think it serves him any real purpose. I think he needs to be pushing for one of the big names, for one of the big guys to get a title shot, or at the very least be pushing for a title shot. And I think Bakole is one of those guys in the heavyweight division who's a real dark horse. He is going to be a big problem for most of those guys in the heavyweight division. So that's my thoughts on Martin Bakole. I'll probably do... No, I probably will. I'll see. I might do a separate video on Bakole Zhang. But for now, that's my thoughts on Martin Bakole. Let me know yours in the comments below. I hope you enjoyed it, people. Smash the like button if you could. Hit subscribe, of course, if you haven't already.